Okay, good to see everybody. Yes, actually, what we're doing today is we're continuing a third part in the series called Why is the World So Messed Up? And what can I do about it? We've done two sessions so far. And in the first one, I kind of described the root traits that cause the problem, which the two extremes are people who are unbridled desire people and power people. We talked about last time from the time of Abraham and the nations of the world that came out from there, because till Abraham, we talked about there was a period of time where God said, anyone could find me. There was no Jewish nation per se. The system was whoever finds God, God's available. That was a 2,000-year time limit. Nobody did it. Abraham did it. And then Abraham changes the dynamic. And the nations that come out from there, we have the Jewish nation, and we talked about last time. And then you have the Esav, who is the father of Rome, which eventually became Christianity. And you have Yishmael, who is the father of the Arab nation, who eventually became Islam. And we talked about how those two kind of are like the head of the 70 original nations, and they also fit into one of these two problems, either being, pushed towards lack of boundaries, or one who is, because of a desire and wanting, to come close and this and that, or the opposite of people that want power and control. And, and even the nation state to look and see where they fit. But now we're getting up to today. So Tar, what you asked me before, we're kind of getting there because the world may have gone to new levels of insanity that, I don't know, they're new levels. There really are new levels of insanity that I think in a lot of ways, it's hard to say worse or better than the terrible generations of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's hard to say worse or better because, as I said to you last time, society became at a certain point much more cultured, cultured. I mean, the Nazis were very cultured people. They had their music and the things and that everything, they actually, as I said, they outlawed before they started exterminating Jews and plus other people they exterminated. Before they did that, they outlawed the Jewish law of how to kill the animal, prepare it for eating, in which is really the least painful way, but it was called cruel. So the world became cultured, but a culture is a veneer. I'm very polite. Okay, but what's going on? So the world in one sense has become more cultured, but because the world has become in a certain way really stupider, the things that people think now are very, very problematic. So I want to get us to what's going on today. So, the time of what's called the Reformation, the Renaissance, religions, as I said before, people had religions and they had their problems and they had their beliefs and all these different things. But then as society decided to enshrine an idea of atheism, and there was no longer maybe an idea of, well, I believe this is what I'm supposed to do. You believe this is what you're supposed to do. How do we get along? Now I have a new belief that sort of atheism has propagated. I mentioned Darwin. I mean, Darwin, whether it was an atheist or not, it's irrelevant. Darwin, as I quoted one time, his friend Aldous Huxley said, he gave atheists an excuse to explain it because they couldn't explain it before. How did the world get here? Okay, so now I have some way to, it's an evolutionary fact, it's whatever. However, it's not a class in evolution. We can do that sometime. But whatever you say about whatever the story is, it was now, if you didn't want to believe in God, or there was a source, or there was a purpose in the world of some sort, then now you have maybe a way to explain it away. It's a random thing. Let's talk about a second. What is the conclusion if the world is random? Don't answer that. Think about it a second. Let's say you get up in the morning and you subscribe to this belief that everything is random. And it's really meaningless. A guy can walk out, in the street, a safe can fall from the 15th floor, turn him into a pancake, and it really doesn't make a difference because there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad, it's all random. That world is a crazy world. I don't know that the depth of understanding how crazy that is. We're talking about a world that evolves now and becomes more and more bizarre, but think about it. I subscribe to a belief. There is a omnipotent, beneficent creator of all that created the world to give me and everyone in it good, and he directs and controls that world for the purpose of giving good. I mean, if that paints your world, my life is purposeful. I'm going something good because the whole purpose was for something good. And everything really makes sense, even though I might not always understand it, but it makes sense. Now, if you subscribe to the other world, this is a cosmic fluke. You mean nothing. You really don't mean anything more than a mosquito, really. You're an advanced mosquito, but you're not going anyplace. What are you doing? What's going to happen? Okay, so fine. Oh, the world's blowing up. We're going to save it now so we can keep doing what we're doing. What are we doing? Well, we're drinking and we're having a good time. Okay, great. So that's where you're going. So basically the world subscribes to the belief that you are a contented cow. What is the greatest thing to strive for? I feel good. This feels good to me. So why shouldn't I go and do something that feels good to me if it's going to hurt you? There's no purpose. Well, because there's maybe a law. And I'm afraid that if I break the law, like you have more money, I want more money. There's no purpose, there's no right or wrong. So I would take your money, but I can't because there's this policeman. So I better defund the police. So I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to get what I want. Why not? I don't know that we can understand the mindset of a human being who believes there is no rhyme or reason to life. How do you get up in the morning? And if you do get up in the morning, you're probably a dangerous guy. Unless you're one of the lucky, beautiful people who go around and they have fun and everyone takes pictures of them and they tell you how to live your life because they're the great philosophical geniuses. That's really what it is. I mean, it's like, think about it. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. LeBron James is going to tell me what's morality? I mean, because you can put a ball in the hoop. Very good. Okay. All right. I mean, the people who tell us what's right and wrong and who to believe and what to believe have absolutely no credentials for any of these things, but they're having a good time and they got a platform and you're going to listen to them. So they're going to tell you. So ladies and gentlemen, we are here now in America, and this is the July 4th weekend. And I got a real problem. And this is from a rabbi, a Jew, who grew up in America. And I want to have the proper, what's called hakaras hatov, gratitude. Because, Ron, I know you're in Australia, and Australia, the world picked up on a lot of the good things America did back hundreds of years ago. Well, what did it do? And where did this go crazy? Okay, let me understand this here. If I could change the Constitution, I would change one word. This is one of the Constitution. You have the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of, I would say, pursuit of fulfillment. I say instead of happiness. And why would I say that? Because what was happening in the world when the founding fathers of America wanted to go and to build a country? They were being persecuted by the church and whoever else is you have to have these beliefs, those beliefs. So they said, listen to this. This is a great idea. And I would agree to this. I wouldn't say, some people say America is the greatest country ever. That's not true. The greatest country was the land of Israel during its holy times. But America is the greatest secular country that ever existed. That it is. There's never been a country that's come along and said, okay, we're going to set something up that is going to give you the right to do what? You know, I mean, there's one word that Americans really feel excited about. And it summarizes what America was and maybe will hopefully again be. And that word is freedom. You hear freedom, you think, yeah, freedom. So what was America fighting for freedom? What was the freedom they were fighting for? Why was freedom of religion so important? Why was freedom of speech so important? Why are these things so important? Because they understood they were being persecuted because they had different beliefs, whatever. And they understood a human being has to do something and accomplish something that make his life meaningful. And if I believe this is the way to do that, and you stop me, that is the greatest destruction of the human being. You believe in God, and this is when you think you have to serve God. Someone said you can't do it. Oh, it's my freedom. You know what's my freedom? It's my freedom because it's my freedom to be what I am. And a human being has the great ability. He's not a cockroach. He's not a monkey. He has the ability to go and say, I believe in certain things that have to happen that I need to do as a person. Whether it's what I believe to be true, how I believe to worship, whatever you believe. So America said, you know what? We're going to make this new system. You can come here and you can be free to do what it is that human beings need to do to express what is important to them in the world. And no one can stop you. And we'll have to make the rules because it's a little tricky. Because if you want to express what is good and what you believe, how do you not infringe on someone else's rights? That was the balance. Now, why would I change the word to freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of fulfillment? Why did I take the word happiness out? Not because the founding fathers of America made a mistake. I think they were very intelligent people. They even studied some Torah. They were very, very, very wise people. Very, very wise, very smart people. Why did I change the word? Not because of them, because of the idiots today. Because the word happiness that they were talking about was, what is happiness? What is happiness? Just think about it. What's happiness? Well, if I get a big car and a big house and I make a lot of money, I have happiness, right? If I get this, if I become this star, I'll have happiness, right? Wrong, right? As Mary's saying, no, Mary's seen a lot, she knows this, that's crazy. But you know what happens? That is what people understand. Happiness is not a thing. It's an object. You can't get the object. What is happiness? Happiness is when I live my life in a way that is meaningful and purposeful, and I'm expressing what I have to, there is a byproduct called I am happy. There's a process. Right? So I got to do when I know I'm doing the right thing, I know I'm living the right way, I know I'm being a good person in the proper way that I believe that I know is correct, that I feel deep down is correct, then I can have a sense of happiness. I'm accomplishing something, I'm doing something. But what they did was they substituted the pursuit of happiness means the pursuit of getting these objects. So you know what? Watch communism. I don't know if you all saw, but this is amazing. The Chinese government actually applauded something that President Biden just said. I don't know if you saw that. It was amazing. President Biden had said about like the gas companies need to lower their prices. The Chinese government said, finally you got it. Capitalism is based on extortion. They're on the same page. What does communism and socialism mean? Well, the pursuit of happiness, let's change the word now. Happiness, which what it means now, the pursuit of the things that I should have. If that's what you're promising me in the Constitution, well, this dude has more than I have. Why shouldn't I be able to go and take what he has? If that's what I'm promised, life, liberty, and the stuff. So let's redistribute it, give everyone what they should have. If you take all of Elon Musk's money, how many millions of dollars can you give out to everybody else? This is what's happened, because people misunderstood what there's a point in life to do something, to believe something, to act in a certain way. And if you the founding fathers of America, in their goal was to give you the freedom to be human and to do what it is that humans need to express. But we don't want that anymore. We want the pot of gold at the end. That's what we want. So right now, if that's what I'm guaranteed, so redistribute the money. That's why the comment. That's why it's hey, let's defund the police. It says in the Talmud, in the Medrash, Mishnah, it says that if it wasn't for the fear of the government, people would swallow each other alive. And believe you me, they know that. Everyone who calls defund the police, the goal is because we're gonna we got a different world order. And that I was telling you before, that's what goes on. And that's why I said about atheism, because it fans the fire of this. You're not going anyplace. I don't know, again, when they wrote the Constitution, I'm sure there were smart people, there were dumb people, not everyone was, but the idea that they had beliefs, or what they thought was true, and what they thought was right, and they needed the freedom to do that, that was because that's what it means to be a human being. Because I'm going someplace. What's the right thing to do? But if there is no right or wrong or reason or rhyme, and the world is random, and then you live 80 years and you drop dead and that's it. So, well, you might as well, I don't know, get as much goodies as you can. That's what's going on. I want to say something now, and I'm a little bit hesitant to say this, because when Moshe was commanded to go to Pharaoh, Hashem said to give him honor as the monarch, because there is a certain honor you need in a position of being the leader. It's not just a leader of a country is not just random. He's not. You need to understand this. This is amazing. It says the hearts of kings are in the hands of Hashem. Now, what does that mean? So that means no free will? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that these are global things. When a guy is a leader of a country, and maybe once the leader of the entire free world, as it was called, that's not an accident. That's like, that could change everything about everything. So God's not, he's directing it, but he's allowing certain things. What's he allowing? How does, and this is amazing when you think about like democracy or dictatorship, in a certain way, it's the same in a certain sense. The difference is, in a democracy, you're supposed to vote for the people, for the person you want to lead, or the leaders you want. In a dictatorship, someone grabs it. But if the people resist it enough, they will overthrow that dictator. Sometimes they don't. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes years because they don't have the gumption to do it and the power to do it. But in a certain sense, the leader represents the heart of the people. Where are the people at? And so I don't want to say this in a derogatory way to the President of the United States. I really don't, because I have to give honor to the office. However, you have to wonder what's going on here. What's going on here? The leader is the sum of the people. And I ask a question, and I don't mean to be offensive, But I do mean to understand the deeper significance of what we're saying right now. The President of the United States at present clearly has certain mental issues going on. I think it's fairly clear. How bad, I don't know, but it's certainly clear that things are not fully cognizant in various ways. How much? It's a good question. But how does that happen? How does a leader of the country not have all his faculties? What's the deeper meaning of that? You know what the deeper meaning of it is? And I hate to say it, but it's another outgrowth of this atheism philosophy as it just goes out of control. It's because the people have lost their most basic common sense. It's unbelievable. It's literally unbelievable. You can look at something and I mean, look, and I don't, it's not politics. I'm trying to give an understanding of it, but I do have, it's like when the one of the judges of the Supreme Court of the land can't define a man or a woman, we're not in a stage of most basic common sense. America has, not all of America, but a large portion of America has lost their most basic common sense, the things that are, and I want to tell you something. If you think I'm crazy because I'm saying it, which I know you don't because you're here on this call, but if you're crazy because I'm saying it, the craziest thing is 5 years ago, nobody would have said it. The same people who are telling you today that you need an open border, men or women, women or men, what? 5, 10 years ago, they weren't saying that. Nobody was saying it. So how are they so sure they're right today when 5 years ago, that was insanity? So we have gotten to a place, and this is where I want you to understand this. We've gotten to the world where once you take God out of the picture, there's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no up, there's no down, there's no good, there's no bad. You create insanity. You create literally dysphoria. You don't know what you are. You know, one of the most fundamental aspects of a human being, and I talked about this once before, Descartes wrote, many volumes to explain, how do I know I exist? I don't exist. And he came up with his solution, I think, therefore I am. Okay, people argue with it, that's fine. But there's an old question, do I know I exist? There was like a story, I think there was a guy in, how did it go in? This kid went to college and he came back and his father said, what'd you learn? He said to him, I got the joke for you, but basically the line was, the kid said, I learned, I don't know if I exist, and the father smacked in his face, now tell me I didn't smack you. So what it was that there's a certain philosophy that you're making that deep down intrinsically, you all know you exist. In Torah, it's called the das. It's called the most fundamental basic aspect of the human being that I know it to be true. You want to write 1,000 pages to prove I exist? Okay, great. Maybe read, may not read it. But if you don't know you exist, you got a problem. You do know you exist because it's the most fundamental aspect of being a human being. I know. I just know. So when a person says now, I don't know if I'm male, if I'm female, if I'm this, if I'm that, the most basic understanding of human common sense of logic has escaped many of the American people. And that's the reason why a leader could be put in that's a rubber stamp for an agenda. That's what's happening. Because I don't know, just point me, what's the right thing to say? And ladies and gentlemen, this is where, we talked about before, why the world went so nuts. So here today, I'm tying it to you to the idea of taking God out of the picture. And then there's this dysphoria and anarchy. Anarchy, I mean, what America is facing anarchy right now. But I'm explaining to you why. because it's no longer a place where I'm saying freedom to strive for what I think is true. That's not what it is. Freedom to get what I want. And give me that, give me yours is coming next, because that's what it's about. That's the problem. Now, I got one more piece, and then we're going to try to get to some of the solution. And the second piece I have, this is honestly, I hate to say it, it's even more problematic. Because a lot of people who have common sense and you could talk to and might hear are experiencing something that has never happened on this level before in history. You have a thing of massive brainwashing. It's massive. It's literally, I mean, I can't think of a clearer massive brainwashing. If you say your opinion, that's it. We can destroy you. In Torah law, there are serious offenses to say something negative about somebody. But today, if I think your opinion is wrong, I can vilify you, destroy you, call you a Nazi, call you whatever I want, and everyone in the crowd is going to just jump on the bandwagon. And that's a massive brainwashing we've never seen before with social media. And this is where the danger comes in, because the kids who don't know any better are being brainwashed constantly. I do not know what I would have thought growing up as a kid watching television. You know, when I was a kid, it's like, you know, the racy stuff was the Brady Bunch, you know? Like, it was like, you know, oh no, I Love Lucy. What trouble did Lucy get into now? You put on the TV today and a kid watches something and says, is this reality? Is this right? Is this wrong? And you're inundated with a brainwashing that even Mickey Mouse is now supposed to brainwash you to believe this dysphoria of reality. This is, ladies and gentlemen, as I started this series, and I want to get to the beauty of America, because it is the 4th of July, and America is a great country, and we need to save the country. We need to save the country. Now, I'll get to that in a second, but this is the process here. We have gone from a time of 2,000 years in the beginning where God said, anyone could find me. People, their desires took them all crazy ways. They went where they went. Abraham, then we have this new stage. And then people are having, Abraham is given a system of truth, and people are changing the truth and having their own truths with their problems. Third stage that we're in now is that there's no longer a place of truth. There is no truth. The founding fathers of America never thought that. They thought everyone is going to stay for, I believe in this. But someone say, I believe in nothing. I don't believe in anything that they weren't planning on. So there were certain basic, understandings that they set up. And now all of a sudden the world is, what do you mean? Nothing, there's nothing. There's no up, down, or either male, female, there's nothing. It's all random. That's the new world. And this is a really serious problem. So what can we say positive on 4th of July weekend here for you all? And this is what I always want to come back to. Even though I've painted this picture, you have to remember, the world is going to a process. It cannot be derailed. It's not possible. Hashem set the world up, there's a process. We have a 6,000-year process of a limit of where it's going to go until we come to the new phase of understanding and reality. And this last phase only has maximum 180 years. So, again, it's a long time, but the world is getting towards a point of understanding. And as we get close to that point of understanding, as it says, that one opinion is that before Mashiach comes, the people will be completely insane. They'll all be crazy. They won't have sense. And literally, we're seeing that in front of our eyes. What can we do? Well, first thing is to understand that Hashem is running the world. So don't get too discouraged from what I'm telling you, because I just need to point it out. The great country that was built on freedom became now freedom to give me what I got to get because you owe it to me. Rather have the government control and give it out than have freedom to do what I believe is true. That was never what America was built on. So we got to understand that's a massive culture thing, but Hashem is running the world. 1. 2, what we have to do is, wherever country you're in, I mean, people in different countries, but this is a global thing here because the world has changed. It became the idea to become this global village. It has happened, and it will keep happening. And so, everyone is adopting the same mindsets that are being created in this bubble. Ladies and gentlemen, what you got to do now is you got to try to take back your countries. You really have to. Now, you might not be able to. You might be able to do by yourself. But you have to try to educate your kids and your grandkids, and how to guard them from that smartphone and everything. I don't know. In Israel, the rabbis are very strict, and most people in the more observant world don't have a smartphone because you just have an opened up box to everything. So I don't know how you control that. I mean, parents should get as many filters as they can and try to teach their kids how to communicate and what not to say. And to understand, like the values that come out are completely contrary. Like one time a student of mine said to me, Rabbi, say something on Facebook, I want you to. So I said an opinion on something that it was a bit controversial, but I knew people were seeing it not correctly, and I wanted to straighten it out. So I said it in a very respectful way. And then, people all of a sudden who would never talk to me as I'm the rabbi, wouldn't talk to me in my face, they felt very free on Facebook to just you know why? Because it's a vehicle of what's called Lashon Hara. That's what it is. It's a vehicle of slander. It's a vehicle of Lashon Hara. So you got to teach your kids and your friends and people you can influence not to see the world this way. So what's happening right now is, why is the world crazy? Because it's gone in this whole process, and now it's in the process of meaninglessness. And that's why it's getting so nutty tar. You want to know why it's getting out of control? Because there's no meaning to anything. It's all random. And so people are just creating havoc. That's something right now that we have to first pray, ask Hashem to help us, especially in our countries, especially as Noahides. Why? Because you don't want to get swept up into other people's insanities. So we have a responsibility to influence, to try, we can, but especially, we saw the story of Sodom, there weren't enough people there. Well, yes, in Abraham's prayer to God during the time of Sodom, if there'd been 10 righteous people, they would have saved the whole town. And if there were a few righteous, they got saved. So Lot got saved, Abraham's merit, okay. But there has to be the goodness there in the nation, and there's a lot of it still in America. That's why we're doing this, because I think there's a credible ability now in the world, not just America, in the world, Canada, every place, Australia, there is, and this will happen. I guarantee you it will happen. There will be a point where people will understand, and the negative people who refuse to understand will fade away, and those who understand will continue and thrive in the ultimate revelations of the world, times Mashiach and what's coming, and things that we are promised to happen. But right now we're in the battle. So you have to know God's directing it. Don't get discouraged. And 2, do everything that you can to speak up, because you're speaking up not just as a political person. Every political group has their own, I hate to say it, their own idiots. I hear some people talking on both sides. I'm like, really? That's what you believe? That's what you think? not really thinking, but you're lifetime politician. So you say the words, okay? And there are smart people too who do hear some stuff, and it's important to go and to let your voice be heard. The what's going on of shutting people down who disagree, the disinformation, the 1984 disinformation committee. I mean, it's unbelievable. I know one thing: when someone lies all the time, they tell me someone else is a liar, I'm not going to believe that guy either. The second guy, I know the first guy. So we have to understand that now, and not let ourselves get shut down, not as an agenda, because I need to stay with it. No, because God wants you to do what is right. And when someone says something to you that's wrong, and you just kind of agree with it, you're letting negativity flourish because you're not disagreeing. Do it in a respectful way. But no, this is wrong. Oh, can you this and you that? You think you're so smart? Okay, great. Let's see these same 5 years from now, and the whole thing falls apart. So that's my thought, and that is how I tie together the last of the world getting to where it is now, Tar. That's why it's as nutty as it is. We got to go and try to to stand up. But it was an old Bob Dylan song, I think, called "God on Our Side." So you're on the side of right. When you're on the side of right, you'll eventually win. Just stick with it. Okay. That is my thought. We're opening it up to everybody.